I was about 5 years old. My first memory was wondering why there were children underneath my sister's bed, asking my parents about it, and they told me I was dreaming, or insisting that my brother search the basement because of the man that was down there, but nobody else could see him. So I learned quickly that I was different. My name is Roxanne. No, I'm kidding. That's my bar name. My name is Kristen Manning, and I see spirit. A lot of people say, does that make you a medium or a psychic? But I don't like to use those. We were in the DC Union Station. If I'm not aware of things, I will just see everybody and the dead people that are with them or walking through. I call them transients. There's a lot of people that just are kind of wandering around, and I've learned over the years how to kind of block that out and just go about my day. But if I'm not thinking about it, or I'm a little stressed, or I'm traveling in a new place, I immediately get, it's like I'm the brightest light that walks in the building, and everybody is like, hey.
Come on, it's cool. It's breathing. Each witch has a book of shadows.
People have been burned for being a witch and not being a witch. It doesn't seem to matter when people get weirded out. So, yeah, they say that even now when you go to a meeting or something. They're like, don't ever admit to it and burn your book. Which is really bizarre to think of. 2015. This was when I was still living at home with my parents. I was in college, and I've been taught to never speak about things that I see. I went to a Halloween party of a friend of mine's. We had set up a haunted house in the basement. I was Marilyn Monroe taking people through the house, and we had the best party going when somebody said, I brought a Ouija board. So of course, like all other college students who've had a little bit to drink and are having a great party, we all sat down at the Ouija board and started asking questions. I asked things like, will I get married? What will his name be? You know, stupid shit like that. And felt very uncomfortable. And so, not knowing anything about how to use a Ouija board, the session was never closed. So I decided that I was going to leave because it was getting a little weird for me. And I went out to my car, and the dome light was on inside my car, which was unusual. So I opened it up and turned it off and got in the car, and my car wouldn't start. And I thought, okay, the dome light has drained the battery. So I got out of the car and I went inside, where I was having a party with a bunch of artists, not people who know anything to do with a car. And so I gave my keys to my friend. He went out and the car started perfectly. They could start the car, but I couldn't start the car. Finally, I got in my car and I said, I'm so sick of this. I just want to go home. I want my car to start. And it started. And I drove home. As I was driving home, I get to my street, and we didn't have a garage, so my parents' cars are outside. The dome lights are on in their cars as I pull up, and I'm like, ugh, seriously? So I parked the car, I get out, and I go to my father's car, and it's locked, of course. It's locked. So I have to go and wake him up and ask for his keys. I come outside, and his dome light's off. And my mother's like, what are you talking about? You know, just go to bed. So I said, fine. So I went to lock the front door, I look outside, and the dome lights are on again. And I'm like, okay, I've never touched a Ouija board again in my life. This went on for about 30 minutes until finally I was just like, fuck it, I'm going to bed and I'm not ever talking about this again. I'm never touching a Ouija board. And I didn't for 25 years. The last seance that I did was the most dramatic and mind-boggling for me. The actual table that we used was not that big. It's about 24 inches round, and it used to be owned by Aleister Crowley, who started the religion of Satanism back in, I want to say it was San Francisco, somewhere in California. The way that you do a seance is everyone puts their hands on the table, but you put your hand on a table very lightly, like so you're just kind of skimming the table. You're not pressing down, you're not holding it up, you're just resting your fingers. So we would ask questions that we knew the answers to personally, but no one else did, so that we could truthfully verify yes or no. And the table would move, would circle to the right or circle to the left, depending on a yes or a no.
Did somebody use dolls here to contain entities? Whoa, yes. Okay. Was it voodoo? No. Okay, thank you.
So we were trying to really find out the truth behind the Sallie House hauntings. People come from all over the United States, really the world, to that house to investigate it. It's a well-known haunted house that is mistakenly believed to have a small girl there. That the legend is that she was killed on the operating table because the man that built the house lived in it, was a surgeon in the late 1800s. In the basement, there is a hole that's knocked through the foundation, and the old foundation is behind it, and there is a entity that lives there, and he is the worst of the worst of the worst. And a lot of people call him a demon. I'm not really, I think he's just an asshole.
Do you believe that you're evil?
Does good or evil mean nothing to you?
Oh, okay.
What we learned through a seance, which I've never done before, was that one of the men that lived there had a group of men that he kind of tortured young girls with. So a lot of information came out that no one knew before, and so we were kind of able to historically verify that, which was kind of cool. I was interested in it because it's in my state and I could drive to it. I met someone that had done investigations there, and I was drawing pictures of what I saw because I'm also an artist. I draw what I see.
Yep. Whoa. Okay.
Still going.
Mm-hmm.
Show off. Whoa.
My hands are so lightly on it that if they're...
Me too. I'm just skimming with it. That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Holy sh...
As we were doing the question and answer session, the table started to lift on my side, and it lifted up almost to, I don't know, what is that, 45-degree angle. We had a gas lantern on top, and it stayed in place. It has a porcelain bottom. There was no tape. There was no nothing underneath this lamp. And of course it was lit, so it's fire. And it stayed in place. We thought, okay, it's going to fall over, and we're going to have to grab the lamp. The house is going to burn down. But the table would lift and stay and go down and lift again. And we started interacting and asking if it could levitate because it was 2 legs off. Our cameraman got down on his hands and knees and showed how none of us were touching underneath. There were no magnets, there were no strings. If I hadn't been doing it, I would have been skeptical. But it was mind-boggling to me. You can see on camera that our hands are just doing this as the table is moving beneath them. But it lifted. It was amazing. So. I grew up with the massive skeptics in my house because it was against our religion to see what I saw, even though I'm seeing it anyway. And I know that, you know, it's a gift like my ability to draw. So that never sat well with me, but I kept my mouth shut until I moved out. It took a very long time for me to feel confident enough to even show someone my drawings. Once I did and was able to validate them through historical records or historical photographs, it became very easy for me to say, it doesn't bother me at all if somebody doesn't believe or doesn't understand, because that's okay. Anyone, I could sit in front of you and say I saw anything, and if you can't see it, how do you know it's there? I mean, that is completely legitimate. I don't know, I think my track record and my proof record, my validation record speaks for itself, so it really doesn't bother me if somebody doesn't believe, because it makes sense to me that they wouldn't. Mm-hmm. You know, it's not their experience, so that's okay. Pretty much. Yay.
Put a spell on you. Because you're mine.